So Kevin, I've got to ask the question because I haven't really sat down and asked you this question. How did you ever come up with this? How did you and Peter ever come up with this?
Let me adjust my Depends and I'll tell you the story. No, it was, you know, Peter and I grew up as absolutely huge fans of comic books. Our hero in comics storytelling was a guy named Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, if you don't know, helped create most of the Marvel Universe. My favorite Jack Kirby comic was one called Commandy, and it was Commandy, the last boy on Earth. And where I grew up in this small town in Maine, I really felt like I was the last boy on Earth because I read comic books, you know, I was fat. I was just this huge geek, and that was my dream, was to be Jack Kirby. And when I met Peter Laird, we shared the same dream, and we literally started working together right away. And so we formed a studio called Mirage Studios, and it was a mirage because it was our living room in this small town of Dover, New Hampshire. And I used to say, you know, Pete would watch the worst TV shows in the world. He'd watch T.J. Hooker and A-Team, and I felt it was my job to annoy him as much as possible while he was watching his favorite shows. So one night in November, I did this sketch, and I sort of thought to myself, imagine if Bruce Lee was an animal character. What's the dumbest animal you could imagine? And a turtle came to mind right away. And so I did the sketch of Michelangelo was the first turtle ever drawn. And so I did this funny sketch of this turtle standing upright. He had nunchucks strapped to his arms, and he had a mask on, and I kind of put it on his desk, and I said, this is the next big thing, ha ha ha. And he loved it. Of course, you know, we were laughing, and studio one-upmanship, he did a drawing and changed some things, improved some things, and so then I had to top his drawing, so I did this sketch with 4 turtles, each with different weapons, and I had this kind of comic book logo on the top that said Ninja Turtles, and I did it in pencil, and when he inked it in, he had a Teenage Mutant, and we were just like, oh man, this is the dumbest thing we've ever seen. And so we literally got up the next morning, and as I love to say, we didn't have any distracting paying work going on, and so we said, look, let's come up with an idea, let's come up with a story of how these characters got to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we're not going to send it out as to Marvel or DC, anything. This is ours, we love it, we're just going to publish it ourselves. So I got a $500 income tax return. We cleaned out all $200 of Pete's bank account, and I borrowed $1,000 from my uncle, and we had enough to print 3,000 comic books. And we were so sure, after we got them printed, and this was April of 1984, that we wouldn't sell one single copy, that we actually made furniture out of the boxes of books that came back from the printer. We made a coffee table and an end table and all that stuff. And then to our surprise, and our parents' surprise, who thought we were going to be living the rest of our life in their basement. Well, he likes comic books, and he's a little weird. He lives in the basement, and you know, we throw down food every once in a while. Pizza. And so that was really the origin. And you know, it's funny. When we did the first comic book, it wasn't until we did actually the second issue of the Turtles, when we got the orders in from the distributors. We went from 3,000 comic books on book 1 to 15,000 comic books on book 2, and I remember Pete calling me and going, we got 15,000 comic books ordered. Do you know if we print 6 issues a year, we'll make about $2,000 each per issue. We can pay our rent, we can eat all the macaroni and cheese we want, we can draw comic books for a living. And that to me is always when the dream came true for both of us, is because we were now living the dream of our hero, Jack Kirby. We were actually drawing comic books for a living, and it was just, you know, I can remember, out of so many fantastic things that have happened over these 30 years with the Turtles, that's still the moment that you guys gave me the greatest job ever, and 30 years later, I'm still drawing turtles for a living. That's fantastic. Cool.